Most people hear backup and just assume that their whole house backs up really easily. It doesn't always work that way. Hi everyone, Matt and Dan here from GI Energy. Today we're talking about whole home backup. Something that I think when most people are first looking into solar and battery, the people they're speaking to are just saying, yes, it provides backup, or yeah, don't worry, your house will be fully back up. And unfortunately, it's not that simple. And we do talk about that in other videos a bit, but we wanted to concentrate this one purely on that topic of whole house backup and should you do it or not. I had a conversation with a friend about this the other day, and I sort of gently pushed him towards essential loads only, and we'll discover why we do that in the video. Because on the surface, it sounds like, well, yeah, just back up the whole house. Why wouldn't you? And if you're not in the solar energy space, then it does seem like that is the easiest option. I think first, maybe for people that are new to this, what is whole home backup?
Yeah, so I guess in a nutshell, if grid power cut right now from your house, it just means that absolutely every appliance, every circuit, lights, power, if you've got a pool, hot water, aircon, everything could work.
Yeah.
Essentially is the definition of whole house backup. Whether or not everything would work simultaneously is probably a separate topic that we can drill down into a little bit more.
Yeah.
As there might be a limitation on, obviously, the battery size, how much capacity you have, what you want to run.
Yeah.
But as a pure definition, whole house backup just means basically what you'd use in normal grid operation still occurs with a battery installed.
Yeah. Yeah. And it does seem great.
Yeah.
I mean, why wouldn't you want to?
Yeah, I guess it can work really well.
Yeah.
And then I guess you just be a little bit more conservative about what you want to use.
Yes.
But I think it's just bringing it back to, like you said before, you hear, I've got a battery, and you just assume everything works.
Yeah.
And it may not necessarily be as easy as that.
Yeah, 100%. So some of those limitations are, well, the inverter capacity,
Yep.
first and foremost. So you've got a 5 kilowatt inverter, and you've got things like a pool in the house that you want to do whole home backup. It's just a no-go, isn't it, basically, under those circumstances?
Yeah. The pool, I guess, would be a nice to have,
Yeah.
but it might be because of the size of the pump or something else. And I guess when we started doing batteries a long time ago, and then coming into it maybe around sort of 2020, 2021, we had a lot of people that had pretty consistent outages,
Yeah.
and they'd ask questions about, can I back up my water pump? Because maybe they're on bore water rather than obviously town or metered water. And a lot of those pumps were often rated above 5 kilowatts just for their starter.
Yeah.
So you'd have to then step it up to the next size inverter. And then obviously, depending on how much battery power is there,
Yeah.
is whether that would work. But yeah, I guess it's those other things in your house. Your aircon is what a lot of people probably often talk about, I feel, as well.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of variables, and it comes back to that where we say each job is different.
Yeah.
But there's definitely a limitation. I have a battery that's been there for 6 years. It's AC coupled to my inverter. I don't have any backup.
Yeah.
And I remember a couple of times just in the street, power's gone out, and one of my neighbours is like, why aren't your lights on? You know what I mean? Or something, or anything like that. But at that time, it wasn't as common.
You've had yours on a tree for a while, haven't you?
Yeah, and even if I did put it in with that system I have, it's very limited, 10 amp backup, 2 kilo, like it's really limited. So it would literally just be some lights and maybe your fridge power point. But then if I plug something else into that power point to dry my hair or whatever, then it's probably tip over.
Need a pretty good hairdryer, don't you?
You do, man. That's it, mate. But you've obviously got 3-phase.
Mine's different. Yeah. So I've done essential loads only.
Yeah.
And there's 2 reasons for that. So I have a Tesla Powerwall 2 installed. And with Tesla, you don't get 3-phase backup regardless.
Yeah.
But let's take that out of the equation for a minute. And let's assume I had a system that was able to back up 3-phase. I've got 14 kilowatts of panels on the roof. I have 10 kilowatt 3-phase inverter, and 27 kilowatt hours of storage. That by itself, you would say, well, yeah, okay, that's probably justified that you could back the whole house up. My thing with the backup though is if I've got 27 kilowatt hours of storage and there's a storm, let's say my battery's 60% full, or let's say I've got 15 kilowatt hours in the battery.
Yeah.
And I'm out of the house, and in the summer I leave my aircon on. Yeah, it's more cost effective. So my aircon's on.
Yeah.
My pool pump, which I have 2 of, both on timers.
Yeah.
Can't control them remotely. And so is my fridge and all the other essential stuff. If I'm not getting home for a few hours, there's a very real chance of that battery being 100% depleted before I get home, which means now I've got no power in my fridge, which means all my food goes bad. And the whole point in having backup for me is those types of things. So you've got to think about it from a sense of your battery's not always going to be full when the power cuts. And even if you have got a system where you can charge your battery the next day when the sun comes out before the grid returns, which that doesn't work with every battery either, even if you can do that, you don't want to run out of juice before then. So that's a big one I think people don't think about, is your minimum state of charging your battery can be set very low, and it's often only 10 or 20% is quite a lot for people to reserve. 20% of even a big battery is not that much, and when the power cuts, often it's pretty grey and gloomy and stormy, so your battery's not necessarily going to be full.
I guess so. You're thinking of it more from the side of how quickly that battery may empty that outage.
That's what I was trying to explain there. But then there's also other limitations around the inverter capacity. So if I've got all that stuff on, and something else gets turned on, you could trip your whole system. You don't want that.
No.
Either.
So I guess, so if you're home and it happened, pretty easy.
Easy to manage.
But if, as you said, you've got things on timers, on relays, set up how you want it to be set up, because that makes best use of solar 99% of the time, which is the right way to do it.
Yes.
But that one time, I guess that's, a lot of people don't have that conversation, because it's just not something you think of, maybe.
If someone said it comes down to the correct design of the system, doesn't it? So if someone, I did a design for a guy yesterday where he's got quite a large house, plenty of room for panels. I think he's going to end up with close to 20 kilowatts of panels on the roof from memory. 30 kilowatt 3-phase inverter battery controller and 48 kilowatt hours of battery storage. For him, we just do the whole house because he's just got a huge solar system, massive battery,
big inverter,
and the big inverter. And that's the key. And that system was a SIG energy system that will recharge the next day before the grid returns. So I felt pretty comfortable then doing that for him. But when there's so many that for me are borderline, that I just think essential loads, and it comes down to opinion, and that's why, as you said, everybody's different, but essential loads in a backup is all you really need.
I guess the conversation we quite often have is they want full backup, and then it's how we conserve power. So in the example you mentioned before, because your aircon's on, if that isn't on, you probably get through the time, because that's going to be the biggest user, maybe your pool as well. If it's a modern system we're designing now where you could potentially control, say, the hot water or something else from the app, because if the power's gone down and your Wi-Fi's on backup, and Wi-Fi is available, you'll still get the app.
Yes.
So that could obviously help there.
If you've got control, that's fair.
And I guess it obviously depends on the size of the inverter, the size of the battery, size of the system. Single or 3-phase, and then with some systems we install, you actually need additional hardware to separate backup loads as well. And then the other one, thinking about it, is maybe you have a shed or a separate switchboard. That could also play into because that's more unique, depending on where the system's installed. And then if you obviously need backup power at a granny flat or a shed or something else, I guess it's coming back to that same thing that each one is individual, which it is. But I think it's just having that conversation, because, before we recorded this, I just spoke to somebody before that had been quoted a pretty low-end product, and it was just backup. And I was like, okay, can we find some more information? It was a 5 kilowatt inverter on a 3-phase house with full backup. It's got a bit of a red flag.
I think so.
Because I'm sure the backup would work to some extent. But if anything more than your lights and your fridge are turned on a bigger, a bigger 3-phase load,
you have to manage it very carefully, don't you?
You would do, for sure. But that was an area where there's a lot of grid outages, probably one a month. So for me, that was a system that we designed more. We focus more on the backup than anything else, probably. So again, it's just that mix, isn't it?
The other thing as well is cost. So what a lot of people are missing is when you do backup circuits, they need to be on type A RCBOs rather than older circuit breakers. And if you've got a circuit board that's got lots of circuit breakers in, that can add up to a fair bit of additional cost that a lot of people are missing. A lot of installers either don't know about or just don't seem to be worried about, and it's just not getting done. So if you're looking at what type of backup to have, make sure that whoever's designing your system is looking at that switchboard and ask the question, are these up to date? We have another video that we talk about this stuff in that shows pictures of what to look for, but really your installer should be asking you that question before you bring it to them.
Yeah, for sure. And I don't know why, but it doesn't seem to be happening that frequently, which is quite scary.
Yeah,
really, because it's been that way for a little while. So yeah, the cost could look good. Going back to one I had the other day, that I think there was 68 circuit breakers in the house.
yeah.
There was like 3 separate subboards, huge home.
Yeah,
but it had like a separate dwelling and then a shed.
They all need updated.
Everything. And it was like a really large chassis board that you'd see on like a commercial property. And yeah, the gentleman, he was quite shocked.
Oh, you would be. Because someone else has probably quoted him and said, nah, mate, it's all fine.
Because they were only one previous iteration of that breaker. So the breakers are only like 8 or 9 years old, but still it's before the change in the regs. So there's quite a lot of stuff to do there. So I'm not sure where that would go, but yeah.
Well, I guess this is the sort of thing that you need to, what we talk about in all our videos is make sure that you're getting the design done properly, because there's too much tick and flick. There's too much, we've got, you know, budget, medium, premium, whatever people are calling it. Everyone gets the same because it's easier for the installer to have the same cookie cutter approach to every job. And it's easier for a sales team to sell the same systems without going into this stuff. But really for you, if you want value out of it, spend some time speaking to an installer who is designing not just the backup, but the whole system. This is just one part of it. And that might sound daunting, but really it's an hour conversation. They should be asking you questions about your load, what you want to back up, how important it is for different things to work, how often you get power cuts. All of this stuff should come out through that consultation. And if it doesn't, then get yourself another quote, because often those sort of quick tick and flick cookie cutter approaches are the ones that are installing all these red flags that we talk about in all our videos. So do yourself a favor, and it's a large investment with or without a rebate. It's still a lot of money. So take the time to do it properly, do it once, and get your backup right. Because the worst thing in the world is if you have a storm and you think you've got something that you haven't.
Yeah.
And then it's impossible to change, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you know, the backup initially needs to be checked and tested and everything else. And that could potentially fail for, it was overloaded at the time, like your scenario there you're talking about. If everything was running and it was above, obviously, what could be delivered, it may not still work at that point. Yeah. And then you'd have to turn something off. Yeah. That can happen. Yeah. But at least you know what to expect. Yeah. And the switchboard's been, you know what I mean, clearly shows you what's there and what isn't. And just that whole conversation around just being sure that what you expect is what's going to happen.
Yeah, 100%. I think that covers everything. As always, just hit us up in the comments. We try and reply to all of them. So if you've got any other questions, let us know. And we're going to put our battery guide in the description to this video. So if you'd like a free resource to help you through that journey, just click the link and download the battery guide. And if we can help any further, please feel free to get in touch. Thanks very much.
Thank you.